Monday mornings at the firm were always a little too polished. Polished shoes, polished smiles, polished egos. I was halfway through the weekly strategy meeting, staring at a render of a multi-million-dollar civic center when my phone buzzed quietly in my jacket pocket. Normally, I'd ignore it, but something about the timing felt off. I slipped it out beneath the table just enough to catch the notification. Celia, I'm being audited. And it's not your firm. I worked on a side project with Malcolm. I'm sorry. We need to talk. I stared at the screen a second longer than I should have. Long enough to feel the temperature shift inside my chest. Malcolm, her coworker. The one with all those late deadlines and emergency client meetings. I slid the phone back into my pocket like nothing had happened. I even nodded along when Josh from marketing cracked one of his usual Monday dad jokes. But inside, it was like someone had knocked the wind out of me, except I was still breathing. Calm. Too calm. 3 years together. Lived in my place. My name on the lease, on the deed, on the mail. Celia had her own key, her own space, her own drawer in the bathroom that somehow expanded every month. And now this. Malcolm, the same guy who once asked me if we'd thought about kids yet while handing Celia a glass of wine during the firm's holiday party. I should have known then. I should have known every time she said she needed to stay late. But I didn't. I trusted her. Or maybe I trusted the routine, our shared Spotify playlists, the vacation we'd been planning, the way she'd talk about wedding venues while brushing her teeth like it was already happening. I sat through the rest of the meeting, contributed where I had to, even cracked a joke about material costs like I hadn't just read the opening line of a personal and professional betrayal. When it wrapped, I stood, buttoned my blazer, and nodded at the team. I'm going to step out for a bit. Need to make a few calls. No one questioned it. I was always calm. Always controlled. No one ever saw me coming when I moved. Down the hallway, past the awards and glass doors, I walked straight into my office, shut the door gently, and locked it. I didn't shout. I didn't punch a wall. I just sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and stared at a photo of Celia and me in Lisbon, one of those self-timer shots on a cliff overlooking the water. I remember her saying, we should live somewhere like this one day. Somewhere with fewer deadlines. Fewer deadlines, huh? Guess Malcolm had the same pitch. I took a deep breath and opened a blank document. Not for a letter. Not for a confrontation. Just a list, names, dates, files, access points. Because I already knew. This wasn't just personal. This was a problem. A liability. And liabilities get cleared. Swiftly. I texted her back. Me, good luck with your side hustle. Then I blocked her number. I didn't waste time. After I hit send on that last message, best of luck with your side hustle, I opened the building's resident portal. Celia still had guest access to my high-rise. That ended now. I revoked her keycard privileges, her garage permissions, and her listing on the emergency access sheet. Done. Next, I sent an email to the building concierge. Subject, remove Celia Harper, Unit 28D guest. Please remove all guest access effective immediately. She is no longer authorized to enter the building or utilize parking garage level 3B. If she attempts to enter, direct her to contact me. No exceptions. They replied in under 3 minutes. Confirmed. Then I went to lunch. I walked 2 blocks down to my usual deli, the one with the uncomfortable chairs and weak air conditioning. As I waited for my turkey on rye, I pulled out my phone and drafted something on Canva. Yeah, Canva. The moment required style. The front of the card read, sympathy on your upcoming lawsuit. Inside it said, good clients don't hide contracts. Good architects don't get caught. Best wishes, Auntie. I didn't put my name, but I signed it with enough clarity that Malcolm would know. I printed it on thick matte stock, tucked it into a navy blue envelope, and took the long way back to the office just to drop it off. Malcolm's office was in a downtown building with valet-only parking. I paid for curbside delivery. At the front desk, I handed the envelope to the receptionist. Please make sure Malcolm Sayer receives this today. It's time-sensitive. She smiled like I'd handed her a birthday card. It'll be on his desk within the hour, she chirped. I nodded. Appreciate it. As I walked back into the sunlight, I imagined his face when he opened it. The smile fading. The forehead crease. The second he'd realized this wasn't just personal, it was professional. He was married. I hadn't forgotten that. 2 kids. One of those Instagram dads who posts his daughter's soccer photos between screenshots of floor plans. But he still chose Celia. Or she chose him. Doesn't matter now. Choices have consequences. Back at the firm, I sat down, logged in, and flagged one of our junior paralegals. Pull a copy of our standard non-compete and confidentiality clauses. Client side and employee side. She blinked. Any particular reason? Just reviewing some risk language, I said calmly. We might be updating protocols. She nodded and left. I didn't feel angry. Not really. Anger was loud and messy. What I felt was sharp. Focused. I spent the rest of the afternoon updating my project logs and tightening permissions on our firm's shared drives. Malcolm and Celia may have gone rogue, but I wasn't going to let that mess bleed into my work. Or my future. No confrontation. No warnings. Just action. They made their choice. Now I was making mine. I got home just after 6. The sky was fading to that pale winter gray, the kind that made the city look softer than it really was. I took the elevator up to my place, 28th floor, key access, views of the river on one side and the skyline on the other. It was quiet when I walked in. Too quiet. Celia's shoes were still by the door. The heels she always kicked off first thing. Her scarf hung on the wall hook like she still lived here. That ended tonight. I set my briefcase down, walked to the panel near the kitchen, and tapped into the smart home system. One by one, I started changing codes. The front door access, new passphrase. The alarm system reset and renamed. The garage entry revoked. The parking garage itself, I submitted a request to the building's security team to remove her license plate from the registry. They replied in under 10 minutes with a confirmation. I opened the closet near the hallway and pulled out the luggage we never used. The big silver one from our Europe trip planning spree. I set it on the bed and began packing her things. Not all at once. Not frantically. Just item by item. Her makeup bag from the vanity. Her workout gear from the second drawer. Her hard drive and notebooks from the little desk she'd claimed for creative overflow. Everything went into labeled boxes stacked neatly by the door. Celia, office. Celia, vanity. Celia, miscellaneous delusions. I wrote that last one without even blinking. I didn't throw anything out. That's not how I work. But I wasn't leaving it up to her to decide when and how she'd come back. That door had closed the moment she sent that message about Malcolm. I took the boxes to the private service elevator near the back of the hallway, the one guests never saw. I left them stacked there, texted the concierge to let them know a courier might be coming. Then I turned and walked back inside. The apartment looked cleaner already. Bigger, even. Like I'd started knocking out walls I didn't realize had been built. There was a photo of us on the hallway table, one she liked because we looked unbothered. I picked it up, looked at it for a second, then set it face down. Not smashed. Not burned. Just done. This wasn't rage. It was reconstruction. You don't get emotional when you tear down a condemned structure. You just clear the debris. She showed up just before 7. I was finishing a beer, sitting on the balcony with the cold wind in my face when I heard the knock. 3 short raps. No doorbell. No text ahead of time. I didn't rush. Just stood, walked inside, and moved slowly toward the door. I opened it, not all the way, just enough to see her face through the crack. She looked the same, like nothing had happened. Hair curled, mascara just starting to smudge at the corners. She didn't speak right away. Finally, Nolan, we need to talk. I kept my hand on the doorframe. Talk about what? Her jaw tightened. About the audit. About Malcolm. I didn't think it would get so complicated. I blinked once slowly. You took on a side project without disclosing it. You didn't just lie to me. You worked with someone who directly competes with my firm's clients. Her eyes darted past me toward the apartment behind. I didn't mean for it to affect you. But it did, I said calmly. And not just me. She shifted her weight, frustrated now. Look, I was pressured. Malcolm said it was a quick job. He made it sound like an opportunity. It was I cut in. An opportunity for you. One that didn't involve me. Didn't include me. And now it's a liability I'm cutting. That quieted her. She glanced down the hallway like maybe someone would appear and help her out of this. But no one came. I made a mistake, she said softly. No, I replied. You made a decision. Her lips parted like she wanted to protest. Like she had more rehearsed apologies lined up. I didn't wait. I pushed the door open just enough for her to see. Your things are packed. Labeled. Near the service elevator. You'll want to schedule a courier. Celia's eyes flicked past me to the empty coat rack. The missing shoes. The bare vanity counter. It must have looked like someone had deleted her from my life in under a day. I didn't think you'd react like this, she whispered. That's the problem, I said. You were counting on a different version of me. One who'd wait for an explanation. Who'd get angry, yell, maybe break a few glasses, then forgive you by morning. I shook my head. That guy doesn't live here anymore. She didn't say another word. Just stood there, breathing through her nose like she might cry but didn't want to give me the satisfaction. I gave her a small nod. Take care, Celia. Then I shut the door, clicked the lock, walked back into my life, and left her standing on the other side. By morning, the text storm had started. Celia's friend Ria was the first to fire. I hadn't heard from her in months, maybe longer. But now suddenly I was her top priority. Ria, she made a mistake. You have to talk to her. She's wrecked over this. I didn't respond. 5 minutes later. Ria, she's been crying all night, Nolan. This isn't you. You're better than this. I sighed, set the phone down, and kept stirring my coffee. My inbox was clean. My apartment was clean. My conscience was clean. 10 minutes passed before the next one came in. Ria, this is cruel. You don't punish someone like this for one misstep. I texted back finally. She made a business decision. She can deal with the outcomes like a professional. No emojis. No sarcasm. Just facts. That was the last thing I intended to say. But Ria wasn't finished. She doubled down. Ria, you're being vindictive. She didn't cheat on you, Nolan. She just took a job. You're acting abusive. There it was. The word people throw around when they don't get their way. Abusive. I didn't respond again. Just blocked the number. Then I opened my phone's call log and toggled the setting to automatically record all incoming unknown numbers. Not because I planned on anything, but because people like Ria didn't back down. And I wasn't about to get caught in someone else's meltdown. The next call came from a number I didn't recognize. I let it ring, listened to the voicemail after. It was a man. Hey, this is Mr. Harper, Celia's father. I was told I could reach Nolan here. I'm interested in discussing a potential project. If you could give me a call back, that'd be great. I rolled my eyes. A potential project. 10 seconds on LinkedIn told me everything I needed. Charles Harper, retired architect, former partner at an old boutique firm in Boston. Hadn't practiced actively in 5 years. It wasn't a client call. It was bait. I forwarded the voicemail to our firm's legal counsel with the subject line. Contact attempt, Charles Harper, non-client. Then I logged it, timestamped the call, and moved on. These weren't just awkward reactions from people on the sidelines. This was a coordinated attempt to spin the narrative. Celia couldn't control the story anymore, so she handed the pen to people she thought could make me change my mind. What she didn't realize, what none of them realized, was that I didn't care about emotional optics. This wasn't some breakup spiral. This was breach control, risk mitigation, strategic detachment. Every message, every call, every manipulation attempt, it was being recorded, logged, and if needed, submitted. Because if Celia and her defenders wanted to turn this into a drama, fine. But I wasn't playing the role they cast me in. I was writing my own ending. Ria showed up around 2 in the afternoon. I didn't get a warning text. No heads up. Just the building concierge calling to say someone named Ria had signed in and was asking to come up. I told them to send her to the service entrance. A few minutes later, I opened the rear utility door and found her standing beside the stack of labeled boxes. She had her phone in one hand, oversized sunglasses pushed up on her head like she was gearing up for a photo op. I came to get Celia's things, she said curtly. I nodded. They're all there. Sealed. Nothing missing. Ria didn't say thanks. She just pulled out her phone and started snapping photos of the box labels. When she reached the one marked Celia, Missed Delusions, she actually let out a bitter little laugh. Really mature, Nolan. I didn't rise to it. They're labeled for sorting, not sentiment. She crouched down and tugged at one of the boxes. Celia didn't even get the chance to explain. She didn't need to, I said. She sent it all in writing. Ria stood up again, hands on her hips. You know she wanted to bring you into the side project, right? She thought if she could show the concept first, you'd be impressed. She was trying to prove herself. My eyes narrowed. She what? She said she hoped you'd think it was bold. Visionary. Something that could get you to take her more seriously, professionally. I let that sink in. For a moment I thought maybe I'd misheard. But I hadn't. She tried to involve me? I asked, voice flat. Without telling me? She thought if it landed well, maybe you'd consider it joint credit, Ria said, adjusting her tone like she was softening the blow. It was about you two being equals. I stared at the stack of boxes, my jaw tightening. She used my name, I said slowly. My firm. My reputation. To backdoor her way into freelance work that violates our client policy. I looked back at Ria. That's not bold. That's fraud. She blinked like I'd gone too far, like she wasn't expecting it to sound so sharp out loud. I took a step back. Courier's your best bet. I'm not helping carry anything. She folded her arms. Wow. She made a mistake and you act like she burned the house down. I shrugged. She made her pitch. I declined the investment. Ria stood there for another 10 seconds, trying to find a retort that didn't exist. Then she grabbed the smallest box, hauled it into her arms, and left without another word. I shut the service door behind her. The click echoed like a gavel. One more door closed. One more chapter finished. By the end of the week, the leaks started. First came a message from Ava, one of our mutual acquaintances from the firm. Not a close friend, just the kind of person who always knew the office gossip 2 days before HR did. Ava, you didn't hear it from me, but Malcolm's under investigation. HR's been interviewing people all morning. His wife filed for divorce on Monday. I read it twice. Then once more for good measure. I didn't respond. Next came Carter, another architect in our professional circle. We'd worked on a few municipal bids together. He always struck me as neutral, but now he wanted to talk. He called during my commute home. Off the record, he said, word is Malcolm's team is pulling away from him. Nobody wants to be associated with what went down. Some of the junior staff actually started scrubbing their LinkedIn connections. I nodded silently, steering through traffic. And your little sympathy card? He added with a chuckle. Apparently that made the rounds at his office. One guy even printed a copy and pinned it to the break room board. I didn't laugh, but I smiled. As for Celia, she didn't call, didn't text, but I knew where she was. A friend of hers, one of the few who hadn't picked a side, sent me a discreet update. She's staying at her parents' house. Not doing well. Keep saying you ruined her life. Right? Because a vacation she planned behind my back, a side job she hid, and a stolen expense card somehow made me the villain. Truth was, I hadn't ruined anything. I just stopped catching the fallout. People talk about consequences like they're punishment. But in reality, they're just balance being restored. Malcolm had his marriage, his reputation, his network. Now he had none of the above. Celia had a place in my home. My protection. My silence. Now she had a pile of boxes and a list of people who no longer returned her calls. And I had peace. I poured myself a drink that night, opened the balcony door, and watched the city lights blink in quiet rhythm. I wasn't celebrating. This wasn't revenge. This was just gravity. The weight of lies pulling down the tower they built together. One lie at a time. One consequence after another. 2 weeks later, I started redecorating. Not because I had to. Not because anything was broken or out of place. But because I wanted the space to look like mine again. I replaced the beige couch Celia picked with a charcoal gray sectional. Swapped the bedroom mirror she insisted on for a frameless one. The rug in the dining area went too, along with every candle, print, and throw pillow that still carried the echo of her. Piece by piece, I made the apartment reflect reality instead of the fantasy we'd both been pretending to live in. On Friday, I took half a day and went to the river market. Bought art from a local vendor. Framed a few of my own architectural sketches. Hung one over the desk she used to claim when she was working from home. It felt good. Clean. Not like starting over, but like cutting away the rot before it could spread. Then came the last ripple. A colleague at the firm, Danica, sharp as hell and always 3 steps ahead, knocked on my office door. Got something weird for you, she said, stepping in. One of our lending partners flagged this earlier today. She handed me a copy of a fax document. It was a fake employment verification letter. On our firm's letterhead. With my forged signature. It claimed that Celia was still on retainer as a design consultant. She tried to use it to secure a personal loan, Danica said, raising an eyebrow. Caught in underwriting. They called to confirm. I stared at the signature. It was close, but not perfect. Sloppy even. Like she thought no one would look closely. Legal's already on it, Danica added. Just thought you'd want to see it yourself. I nodded, folded the paper in half, and tossed it into the shredder beside my desk. That was it. The last thread. She had tried, one last time, to make me the safety net beneath her freefall. But the net was gone. I cut it myself. That weekend, I didn't answer a single message. I didn't check updates on Malcolm, or Celia, or her father, or anyone still tangled in the wreckage. I brewed my coffee slow, sat in silence, and let the quiet feel permanent. Later, standing in the living room, I looked around at the space I'd reclaimed. No trace of her remained. No smell. No picture. No presence. I poured myself a drink, leaned against the window, and let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding for months. She thought I was a footnote in her story. I murmured to no one in particular. Turns out I was the editor. And with that, I closed the book. Support us by liking and subscribing to our channel.